Good evening. I'd like to open up the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Village of Bartlett, Counties of Cook, DuPage, and Kane. Please call the roll.
Bob Picaro.
Here.
Charlie DeVoe.
Here.
Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Julie Kapatakakis.
Here.
George Koziel.
Here.
John Miasso.
Here.
Michelle Sarwaz. John Batterman.
Here.
Mike Weirden.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the April 6th meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Bob, seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Julie Kapatakakis.
Abstain.
George Koziel.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Bob Picaro.
Yes.
John Batterman.
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe.
Yes.
If you plan to speak tonight and you are not the petitioner, there are forms in the back on that counter. Please fill them out and give them to Christy or Kim so that they can call you up and we don't have to swear you in individually. There is a public forum. Is there anything that anybody would like to address not related to this meeting? Okay, I take it not. First item on the agenda is case number 23-04, Orchards Gaming. Are the petitioners present? Please step up to the microphone. This is a special use permit to serve beer and wine. Please raise your right hand.
Yeah, just the wine and a liquor.
Oh, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
So my name is Nilesh Patel. The address is 978 South Bartlett Road in Bartlett.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
So I'm doing the gambling place in a town, and I'm doing the hours like 8 to 11 at the weekdays, and weekend I'm doing for 8 to 12. And I'm here in town. I have 2 liquor stores already, and I know in the town like almost 23 years.
Okay, have you received any phone calls or emails on this staff?
No, sir.
Yes?
No, sir.
No, sir? Okay. Any questions from the board?
Go ahead, Mark.
Could you clarify the hours again? I think that there was,
So I'm doing
Difference
like
in the
weekdays,
application.
like Monday to Friday, Sunday to Thursday, 8 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, 8 to 12.
okay, Friday and Saturday,
8 to 12.
8 to 12. Okay. Christie, is that consistent with the staff report? Or Dan?
In our staff report, we had Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Friday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m.
So we should change the hours then to what was just spoken?
Mr. Patel, you wanted to, that's for the alcohol. Mr. Patel, what was the stated hours again?
8 to 10 in weekdays, and Friday and Saturday, I say 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Yes.
Okay. We will have those hours updated.
So I was just reviewing the diagram, very nice. I do have one question about the restroom. It's way in the back. Is that a public restroom?
So we have the restroom already there, because you used to State Farm there, and you have the restroom, so we're doing like unisex restroom.
But it looks like it's next to the kitchen. Is it still going to be public?
Not the next to kitchen, no. Okay. The restroom is the public, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
Any other questions? At this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have any question? Any further discussion or motions?
I'd like to make a motion, please. That the Planning and Zoning Commission approve, he said as he tried to scroll back quickly, case number 2304, Orchards Gaming, along with the staff recommendations and the finding of fact.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mark, seconded by John. At this point, we shall close the public hearing portion. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Julie
Oh,
Kapitakakis.
hold on. I forgot to make mention, do we have the mailings, the newspapers, and the picture of the sign?
We have the-
Aren't those exhibits?
We have the newspaper
A,
here,
B, and C.
mailers here, and the signs here.
All right, now we shall close the public hearing. Sorry about that. Please call the roll.
Julie Kapitakakis.
Yes.
George Koziel.
Yes.
John Miaso.
Yes.
Bob Bacaro.
Yes.
John Batterman.
Yes.
Charlie DeVoe.
Yes.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Okay, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the board. Stay in touch with staff to see when it appears on the agenda,
Thank you so much.
village board.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, case number 2305, Bartlett Liquors and Wine, special use permit to sell packaged liquor. Are the petitioners present? Please step up to the microphone if you're going to speak. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, do we have the mailings, the newspaper, and the pictures of the sign?
Yes, sir.
Aren't those exhibits A, B, and C? Go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Narinder Sohi, and my address is 974 Woodhill Drive, Carroll Stream, Illinois, 60188.
Go ahead and present your case.
We are going to open liquor store in the village, and it's a new business for us. And I'm in the business field from last 9 years, helping my husband for the transportation business, and I'm also in the healthcare field, and I know how what are the how to manage this business as a to make sure people's health, how to maintain, how to make. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but yeah, so I will do my best to run this business. Yes.
Okay, so this is at 1072 Army Trail Road in the Galleria of Bartlett.
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
As long as we're talking about hours, what are the hours of
Okay,
operation?
yes, it's Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
So could that staff report be changed accordingly?
So in our staff report, we have that the proposed hours was in conformance with Class C of the extended liquor license, but I can have those changed to reflect the proposed business hours, and then, however, in the recommendation, we'll still have those maximum hours that are in the Class C as well.
Probably to 12 a.m., not p.m.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
12, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Any further questions? At this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have? Yes. Please state your name again. Come up to the microphone so that you can be caught on the tape. State your name again.
My name is Neil Patel. I have 2 liquor stores in town. So I just only ask everyone, how many liquor stores we need in town?
How many, pardon me?
How many liquor stores we need in town?
You're asking how many liquor stores do we need in Bartlett?
Town, yeah,
Is that what you're asking?
yes.
Okay.
We already have next to the dog father. He's not open yet. Now we see opening new one. How many stores we needed? People losing all businesses, right? I have Mr. Cookies almost 23 years. I'm closing next month because I'm losing money.
Where are you closing?
Mr. Cookies, across from the Julasco, 980 South Bartlett Road. I'm closing next month.
Next to the, I don't think.
Across from the Julasco,
Right,
980 South Bartlett Road.
He's at the south end of the shopping center.
so, but you're putting a
Gambling place, yes.
gambling business in,
Yes, I got that.
right?
But liquor business is going down because too many competition in town.
Well, that, you know, the problem there is you got Jewel you're competing with, number one.
Okay.
You're right across the street from them, and they have a larger package ability than you do.
Their store I'm doing 1999, almost 24 years now.
Okay, but it's business, and unfortunately, stuff happens. And if these people are interested in opening another liquor store that's further away, you know, maybe that's,
I'm not blaming her, I'm not blaming.
No, I know,
I just
but-
only question that, yeah, how many liquor store we need in town?
that question, I think, should be brought up to the village board, not to this board,
Okay,
okay?
I got it.
That's not us, our,
They have the ability to overrule us or
Right.
concur, so.
okay, I
mean,
got it.
COVID-19 changed a lot of things, and that could be still some of the ramifications from that.
One could say the same thing, though, about gaming cafes. There's a lot in the village.
I agree.
And there has been criticism that there's too many.
I just only question that, I'm not worried, she can open it, maybe more open, I'm not worried about that. I'm just asking you guys, like,
Well,
how
again,
many we need it?
we don't,
How many pizza places we need in town? How many, like,
Mr. Patel,
Yes, sir.
it's a good comment, and we hear it off and on, you know, and it's a legitimate concern. However, it's outside of the purview of this commission. We don't review nor comment on such things. We review on the technical adequacy of a submittal with regard to planning and zoning, right? Our zoning and code and comprehensive plan. So you're talking about a policy decision, and that's just not us.
sorry, I just want to make sure, that's it. I don't want to worry about this. Maybe two more come, I don't know.
You could bring that up at the town hall portion of the village board meeting if you go, when this appears on the agenda.
I don't want to do that, I just want to ask you, like, how many we need in town? That's my question only.
It would be wrong of us to vote no because of a gut feeling about where we think economics should be or competition within the village or what have you. We're restricted to a tight box of regulations.
Okay. I got it.
Okay.
I just want to know, like, how
No,
many
it's a-
we need it, you know?
It's a
I'm not
valid,
worried.
it's a
Your point is
valid
well
question,
taken.
but
Look at,
we don't control the number of businesses in the village of Bartlett. In the village, the board doesn't. If you want to open a business, whatever it may be, if you can meet all the requirements, then you have the right to open and either succeed or fail.
Yes.
same thing I'm saying, right, next to me, Walgreens, right? He hurt me. I'm not saying that, but I'm just only ask village, how many we need business in town? That's my only point.
Point taken.
I guess when the saturation point is reached, more will close, or an economic fallout or something.
That's true, I agree.
But I mean, if it's a real concern, I would bring it up the town hall portion. Just as we had the public forum right before this meeting started, they also have that at the village board meeting where you could bring something up. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay? Any further questions? Any comments or motions?
I would make a motion to send a positive recommendation to the village board to approve item number 2305, Bartlett Liquors and Wine.
Subject to the findings of fact.
I'm sorry, it's finding to statements of fact.
It's been moved by George. Any, at
I'll
this point?
second it.
Okay, seconded by Charlie. We'll close the public hearing portion. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes,
Mark Hopkins,
Yes?
Julie Kapadukakis,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Bob Picaro,
Yes,
John Batterman,
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Okay, we shall pass on a positive motion to the village board. Stay in touch with staff to find out when it appears on the agenda.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is case number 2302, Hawk Hollow Middle School, plat of consolidation, rezoning from SR2 PUD to P1 site plan, and amendment to the future land use plan. Are the petitioners present? If you're going to speak, just please come up to the microphone so that we can swear you in. Everybody, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give is only the whole truth? Yes. Okay, then we'll just have you state your name and address for the record when you're up to speak. You're going to speak first?
I will speak.
Okay, your name and address?
My name is Brian Lindholm. I'm the Chief of Staff for the school district, and my address is 201 Rainbow Drive in Sleepy Hollow, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Hawk Hollow Elementary actually had its final day yesterday. We had a kind of a grand closing celebration, and we're here tonight to talk about the plans to convert it to a middle school starting in the 2025-26 school year. I did just want to introduce a few of the other administrators from U46 who are here tonight. So we have Suzanne Johnson, Dr. Suzanne Johnson, who's the newly appointed superintendent, Dr. Ann Williams, the deputy superintendent of operations, Mark Moore, who's our assistant superintendent of human resources and also a resident in Bartlett, and then we have Richard Bosch, who's our school safety coordinator, and he's also a resident in Bartlett.
One moment, I'm sorry, do we have the mailings, the newspaper, and the picture of the sign? Yes, sir. Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Go ahead.
Could you go next slide, please? Oh, I can go next slide. So this was a slide that we shared about a year ago, and this was what helped us to arrive at the decision that Hawk Hollow Elementary was a school that we did no longer need as an elementary school in our district. So this shows, looking ahead 5 years, at the capacity utilization of each of our buildings. So we have 40 elementary schools in the district, and the ones that are in red show that they are running at or above capacity. And you notice those are really all in Elgin, South Elgin. We've got one in Streamwood in the upper right corner, but where we are down here in Bartlett in sort of that lower right corner, we've got several elementary schools that are running in the blue area. I mean, they're running 50-60% capacity. Hawk Hollow was one of those. And the school just north of Hawk Hollow is Prairie View Elementary, and they were running even lower capacity utilization. So this was part of what allowed us to reach the decision that we had plenty of elementary capacity in this area of the district. What you'll see in one of the next slides is we actually had almost no middle school presence in this part of the district. So I'm sorry, the font is a little small here, but Hawk Hollow is the school in the lower right quadrant that's with the yellow box around it. That would be our 9th middle school. Our 8 current middle schools are really all clustered in the northern half of the district, and middle school students who live in this area, in many cases, are traveling several miles either to go to Eastview Middle School, which is at the northern edge of Bartlett, or to go to Kenyon Woods Middle School, which is in South Elgin. So I think combined with the fact that South Elgin sits on for us, a very large plot of land compared to some of our other elementary schools in the district, which is going to give us enough space to do a pretty sizable addition, which we'll be talking about tonight, but also have the green space, the parking, the athletic fields that a middle school requires. Those are some of the things that brought us to this point and why Hawk Hollow was the site that we had selected. So one of the other questions that we'd had through this process are sort of what would the boundaries look like, which students would attend this new school. And to be quite honest, we have not finalized those yet. There's a lot of moving pieces because another part of this plan is we would be moving all of our 6th grade students out of the elementary schools into the middle school, and that's part of the reason that we needed an additional middle school in the district, because we're going to all of a sudden have to do a much better job at filling our middle schools and basically running all of our middle schools at or close to capacity. So as you can imagine, when we open this school in this area, yes, we have to figure out those boundaries, but it's going to have a ripple effect then at the other schools throughout the district, as we're really going to have to be redistricting the entire boundary area for our middle schools to make sure that between the programs that we run in each building and the boundaries that we draw, we're doing a better job of running almost all of our middle schools basically at capacity. So we drew a circle here to just kind of represent a representation of the area that would be served, but we have certainly not, at this point, come to the specific crossroads and outer edges of what the boundary would look like. But you can imagine students who live down in this area would certainly attend Hawk Hollow Middle School. It's just a matter of how far north that boundary would stretch and how far west that boundary would stretch.
You anticipate that Prairie View will also have to convert? this is going to solve it.
Prairie View, the nice thing about this is this will allow us to run Prairie View with an enrollment of where they really should have been all along. So that's a school that at one point had 800 or 900 students, and right now they're at like 350. So they will be receiving most of the Hawk Hollow students, and they will then have a healthy enrollment again of 600 to 650 students, which is, like I say, is a comfortable number for them. But we don't have any plans of converting Prairie View to a middle school.
What are these little red boxes on the outskirts?
The red box. Those are students who, the way that this, we took this out of our boundary mapping software, so those are actually students who live outside of our boundaries, who attend one of our schools. I'm sorry, it's a little distracting. Good question. So I think at this point then, Pat, I will hand it over to Pat Waldo, who's our Director of Plant Operations, to continue with the presentation.
Hi, I'm Pat Waldo, Director of Plant Operations, 41 Briarwood Drive, Gilbert, Illinois, 60136. We have a group tonight here to help present the plans for the Hawk Hollow Middle School. So I want to introduce Claudia Welp. She is with Cage Civil Engineering, and she's going to walk you through some of the zoning changes, those site plans, landscape, things like that.
Hi, Claudia Welp on 2200 Cabot Drive in Lisle, Illinois. So I'm just going to start here with our graphic just displaying, our current zoning, which shows that we have the P1, which is the majority of the site, and then we also have the SR2 PUD, and we're rezoning all of it to be one lot at 19.6 acres in total. And then this here is just our overall layout plan, and I can just talk through this really quick so everybody has an idea of what we're proposing. So we have the existing Jacaranda Drive on the south, which we are maintaining the first portion of that, which you can kind of see is highlighted there. And then we're adding an additional drive off of Gerber Road on the north. So the south drive will be for bus traffic only, and there are gates that will make sure that it is closed to other traffic. And then the bus loop there is to the south, and the buses will loop around and exit through Jacaranda Drive. And then the drive to the north, which is for your parent drop-off, parking, teachers, all of that, they'll come in from the north. They'll come through the parking lot and park there, or the parent drop-off, which is there in the front. And that is where all of our queuing is, which our traffic consultant will speak about that later. And then we have our proposed building addition there, and then we also, you can see a lot of the adjoining sidewalks on all the different directions coming from the northeast, northwest, southwest, and southeast. And then the big circle area there that looks pretty blank, that is where our detention is going. That's proposed detention, and then to the west is existing detention. That's dry bottom, it's not gonna be a pond, it's not gonna be full of water unless it's a high rate event.
So essentially, that one along the north is real close to the property line, and that is the main entrance for everybody but buses?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a pointer that you could walk us through that a little bit? Does anybody have a pointer that they could?
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Could you run us through where we are currently and what the change would be then?
Yeah, so actually my next slide shows you a little bit better. So this is the proposed site plan over an aerial, so you can kind of see better where things are going compared to what's out there today. So this is the existing Jacaranda Drive. This is where your bus loop is going. And then up here, this is the proposed drive off of Gerber Road. Here's Gerber here. And then the drop-off is actually going to come through this way, or I think it comes through this way. And then they come through here and drop off here. And then they'll exit on this way. So there is a dedicated right turn, left turn, and then an entrance.
So in the upper right-hand corner, that is an expanded parking lot of what is there now, correct?
Yeah, so the existing parking, you can kind of see it in here. Sorry, I don't have an existing plan, but this is where the existing parking is. And then if you go back to here, this is sort of where that proposed parking lot is here, which is where we're consolidating all of these lots.
So there will be two ways.
And there's also a fence up here, sorry, I forgot to mention. There's a fence up here, which is 5 feet off of the property line, which is also a 6-foot-high screened fence with landscape as well.
So now currently, I was out there today, and currently there's a path from Benson over there. Would that
Yeah.
path
so-
still be accessible?
Yes, so there is, so Benson is down here, so this is the path that'll come up here, and then we maintained it along here, and there's a walk here. So all of these walks are maintained, you can come all the way down to the south, southeast, and then there's also this walk here that cuts through, and it actually cuts through at the front of the parking to provide more clear crossing, and then it comes through here where it is existing, and then it continues down this way as well on the south. And then you can obviously get, from here, there's sidewalks around the whole west and north side of the building, so you can get down to this direction as well from any direction.
So children will be walking then from those paths, so this is leading from the neighborhood then?
Yes, you can still get there from these neighborhoods up here, and even down on the southeast. All of this is paved pathway.
Do you have any idea of how many students travel those paths a day?
I don't think we have that number. No. I can go to the next slide. This is just, I wanted to show a graphic here that shows the proposed fence along with our property line here. So this yellow line, I'm sorry, this is hard to see. This yellow line on the south is the fence, and then the property line is this dashed pink. And you can see it's just a couple feet, 5 feet off of the property line, and then all these existing trees here are not being demolished on the property to the north. And then this is just a picture of what the anticipated fence may look like. We don't have exact pictures of that, but it's a 6-foot-high Trex composite fence, and it will be at least 75% screened.
At least what?
75% screened.
Okay. Composite, so that will be low maintenance.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also included, here's our landscape plan, so you can see what we plan to include for that. So there's shade, trees, evergreen trees, ornamental trees, shrubs, and grasses throughout the entire site. And then the pond is going to be planted with native detention seating, as the current one out there is today, as well as adding additional trees. And then there's also trees along the whole north property line with some shrubs as well.
Are you adding trees or are those existing trees?
We're adding trees, yes. There's some existing to the north of the fence, which we're not going to be touching. I think there's 1 or 2 possibly on the south side of our property line that we will be getting rid of to put the fence in and things like that, but then we are replacing them with additional trees.
Go back to the student question. You're probably not the person to ask this question.
Possibly not, no.
So you said there students are being bused to Eastview and to Falcon, I think, over in, or whatever it was, over in South Elgin. What percentage, I guess I'm looking at trying to figure out this proposal is for 2025, correct? All right, so you're going to move a lot of students eventually. So is this elementary school going to be shut down now? Okay. Last year, right, okay. That explains the big party I saw there. Okay, but so I live up by Eastview, and so there's a lot of students from that section are bused up there. And so where are those students are they going to continue to be bused to Eastview, the middle school students, until this is completed? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, we wouldn't adjust any of our boundaries until Hawk Hollow is ready to until this would be ready to open as our 9th middle school. So for the next 2 years, nothing will change for any of our students. And at that point, even after we redraw the boundaries and would open this school, if the students qualify for transportation, so if they live more than 1.5 miles from the school, or if there's any dangerous intersections that they cross, they would still be eligible to be bused.
Right, okay. Do you have an idea how many students are being bused right now, too?
We actually just looked up Eastview, what the numbers were, and it's about 80% of the kids who are like eligible for busing ride the bus each day, and it was 650, I think, something like that. 650 students out of the 800 and some at Eastview that are on the bus, so a majority of them are riding the bus each day.
Okay, but okay, all right. But you really don't know how many are going to end up going to the new Hawk Hollow Middle School, or is that?
Because of the boundary situation, they don't know
Yeah,
all the.
right.
I'm sorry, I can't tell you with.
It's okay, all right. Thank you.
Could we go back to the fence real quick? The border of the fence, that last house there,
This one?
249 Hawk, yeah. Is the fence gonna be beyond their property line?
No, I believe the property line goes straight through, so it looks like there might be some additional items on the south side of the property line, but I believe Hawk Hollow's property line cuts straight through here, yes. It's a straight line.
Okay, and there's no corner on it, right? It's gonna just stop at a straight through?
Yes, it's straight, and then it cuts right across, I can't remember what road this is here, but it cuts straight across here as well,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
The previous slide, which is the, yeah, the parking lot right in the middle of the diagram, is that like
It's
staff?
just additional parking, it's not going to be designated for staff or anything like that. Visitors, so it'll have some visitor parking spots. There's no gates or anything gating it off.
I have a question on the pedestrian walkway for the new entrance. How will visibility be when, I don't know if that's going to be a bus entrance or just for cars?
The main entrance is over here, so I think most students will enter here, but they can also enter over here as well. This is another entrance for them.
Off of Gerber?
Oh, I'm sorry. Over here, you're saying?
Yes, well, this is the current one down below the red pointer, right? That's where we're at now. Now, that's going to also still be an entrance?
For buses only.
Okay, and then how about the other entrance up?
This entrance will be for everybody else, and then this one will open back up after school hours, so anybody can enter if there's large events or things like that. But this will be the main entrance for students, drop-off, parents, teachers, and things like that. And this will be buses only. So these gates will not be open during those times.
So my question is on Gerber, at the entrance for main cars to come through, the pedestrian walkway that the children will travel from the neighborhood?
Yes, it's right up here at the very front of the drive, so you'll be able to see them before you turn the corner. So they'll come down here and it actually zigzags over, and then it comes down.
They'll have to walk towards Gerber?
Yes, and then the crossing will be closer that way, so you can see them right at the intersection, and then they'll be able to come down and then follow this existing pathway here, and then they come this way.
And that's not a raised pathway, that is just cutting right across the traffic coming in?
Correct, yes, with a crosswalk.
So that, I have a little bit of a concern about the close proximity from the main road and busy parents in the morning pulling in and out. I know I've been there, I'm a 46 parent also. What do you, does that mean? Mine is off, so I don't think it's me.
I don't know if Kelly wants to speak to that at all, but.
I can talk a little bit more about pedestrian connections too, but we purposefully,
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Kelly Connolly with Sam Schwartz Engineering, a business address of 200 South Wacker in Chicago.
Okay.
We were retained by the district to perform the traffic study. So I have a couple of slides that I can present, but I can also address this question because we had asked the applicant to rearrange. You can see the existing sidewalk follows that old Plat and diagonally cuts across the drive. It would cut across the proposed drive. So we recommended that that angles back out actually to align with Gerber so that they are crossing when the cars are under stop control. So that's the typical location where you want a crossing to occur because cars are expecting a crossing at an intersection.
That makes sense.
Otherwise, if you're cutting diagonally across where the alignment is currently, you're cutting right through that queue of cars in almost a mid-block location. So we wanted to avoid that because there will be queued cars there during that peak of activity. The cars will be queued at a stop sign that exists on the proposed access at Gerber. So cars exiting the site will be under stop control. And so they will be queued internally heading outbound from the site. And we don't want the children cutting across. So this being the original alignment of the sidewalk, we're bending this out. There is a stop sign positioned right there. So cars will be under stop control, and there will be, based on our analysis, some queuing of cars this way. And so we don't want the children cutting through the line of cars. They're coming out and crossing where the cars are under stop control.
What does stop control and queuing actually mean to a person who's in a hurry to get their child to school on time? What is that, how are they going to be controlled, actually?
I guess I'm not following exactly.
That question.
Could that be that fence right there? Is that fence extend to the,
So essentially, you're telling me that there's going to be a stop sign there,
Yes.
and a parent, and a good parent, or a good person, is going to stop and wait for the students to cross.
Correct.
There's no plan to have a crossing guard there, or any kind of patrolman.
Actually, we do recommend that this intersection is monitored
Okay,
to help children cross, but
Right.
also to make sure that these queues are exiting efficiently
correct,
onto Gerber.
okay. All right, thank you.
I'll pass it off to Jeff Hug at Archon if there's no further questions on the site plan.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions on the site.
On the site, okay.
Somebody can answer about parking lot lighting.
Yes, we do have parking lot lighting, and I believe the lighting turns off at 11.
So you're good. So the lighting in this parking lot will be, I was up before, but I'm Pat Waldo, Director of Plant Operations, 41. So the parking lot lighting will be tied in with the building automation systems. So at most of our middle schools, these lights are going to turn on automatically at about 5 a.m. They'll turn off at dawn, and then they will turn on at dusk, and then they're timed to go off at 9 o'clock at night. Unless we, for whatever reason, have an event that's going on later, then the building team will be able to control that lighting. But right now at our middle schools, they're off at 9 o'clock.
So these lights, how are they controlled with regard to light spilling into adjacent properties?
Our lighting engineer is not here, but I know that the lights are designed in a way, the ones at the north property line are designed to shine south. So there shouldn't be excessive light shining to the north. That was taken under consideration.
Sorry.
Sure.
Thank you. I know the staff report says that photometrics are going to be reviewed internally by our own experts. But can we discuss what those criteria are?
So typically, we want to keep light from exceeding a 1 foot candle length. Is how they measure those lighting 0.2. And so it's 0.2, and so they have provided a photometric plan that I have reviewed, and we don't have any in that diagram. We don't see any light spillage over 0.2. A lot of that is because of the LED directional lamps that they're proposing for that northern property line along that line. Another helpful aid is the screening fence that we've talked about already, and also the existing trees on the neighboring properties. Those also prevent a lot of light spillage over into the residential homes.
Thank you very much. That answers my question. With regard to the separation between the new access drive and the north property line, do you happen to have a cross-section through there? Okay, so what are we talking about in terms of distance between the edge of pavement and the north property line?
I believe we're about 25 feet is what our typical is along that length. I don't know. I think it changes a little bit because the line's not exactly straight, but it's around 25 feet.
Okay, there's two lines on that diagram. One of them is a continuous line that's, looks like it's about 5 feet away from the curb. What's that line? That's not the fence. The fence is 5 feet from the property line, I think you said.
It's up along the property, and then we have lights that are up against the pavement, so I'm
Okay.
not sure what.
There is a retaining wall on part of that property line for those residences. So I don't understand, you know, the height differential between the two grades and the top of the fence.
We'll have to look at that and do a section if that's required, or we can also move our fence south as well. We left a 25-foot buffer to try to give as much space as possible between the residents and the drive and lights and things like that, but we could always move the fence as well if that becomes an issue.
Okay. It's not going to help us to set, you know, a 6-foot fence 3 feet down and et cetera, you know. Although it might be vice versa, so. Yeah, I wish you would look at that and make sure it's operating all the way across the line the way, you know, you want it to.
I think that land is pretty level at the north end of your property. And a lot of trees there right now which are on your property, right?
No, most of those trees, there's trees that are in the existing detention, which are going away, but most of those trees, which you can kind of see better in most of these trees are off Hawk Hollow property. Most of these are on the residence property. So this pink line is actually our Hawk Hollow property.
And there's some to the left that are on yours, aren't they?
Yeah, so this is the existing detention here. So that's a lot of like trees within there or shrubs and things like that. That is going away. That's a man-made detention pond. And then the new pond will be the similar use, a dry bottom basin, which will have similar plantings as well.
I'd like to hold the rest of my questions for after the staff report.
Okay.
I do want to clarify that dashed line north of the drive aisle is actually the 25-foot setback line. That's what that dashed line is.
Well, so that's,
So the access
so we're
drives-
talking more like 30 feet.
Yeah, I'd say it's closer to 30 feet to the actual property line.
Okay, so if we had to measure from that curb line to the typical back face of one of those residences, what would it be approximately?
Let me pull up parcel. So you want from like the rear of the home?
Yeah.
Like the actual rear of the house? All right.
So I don't know what the typical backyard is there.
Those backyards are, most of the houses are almost 70 feet from the rear. And so these are going to be closer, it's going to be about over 100 feet.
Over 100
100
feet
feet.
between the curb and the back of the house. Okay.
I have a question still on lighting. Can you back up one slide? I think it's the one that shows the housing to the north. That one, all right. Has there any consideration been given to the amount of light that's going to come from that much larger parking lot affecting those homeowners?
I believe the lighting plan would have displayed those foot candles. If they were to spill into there, it would show up on that plan. So that lighting plan did not just take into consideration those lights that are up here, it also takes into consideration the entire site, the spillage.
And the plan that Daniel referenced doesn't show that there's going to be light spillage onto those houses?
The, basically, the light radiation that will reach that property line will be 0.2 candle foot, which is within our standards for residential lighting.
Go ahead.
Are your petitioner done with the presentation then?
No, we still have more architectural items and traffic as well. So I'll pass this on to Jeffrey Huck at Archon. He is the architect on the project.
Good evening. Jeff Huck with Archon Associates with a business address of 2050 South Finley Road in Lombard, Illinois. We're the architects for the project. Let me get to our slides. Actually, before I show that, let me just jump back here. Just to orient everyone, this is the existing Hawk Hollow Elementary School building. That will remain as part of the new middle school. The addition will go in this area inside this sidewalk. So the entirety of the building will go inside the sidewalk and then include the existing building.
More than doubling the size, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, here on this site plan, you can see that's the addition. Here's the existing building. Floor plans, this is the first floor plan. I won't go through every space because I think what's important to you is to understand that this is the existing two-story building currently. It's going to be converted into 2 floors of grade levels, 6th and 7th grade. Administration coming into where the existing cafeteria is, if you're familiar with the building. The new building is going to touch the old building right along here, and this will all be the addition. So because we're converting it from an elementary school to a middle school, you need to add a number of things that are appropriate for that grade level, including those programs. There'll be labs, library, additional physical education spaces for that level, including competition-type spaces, large cafeteria, and a music wing as well. So the spaces that are being added are there to support a middle school function as opposed to just the elementary school function. If we go up to the 2nd floor, again, here is the existing building. That'll be a grade level. The existing library will be converted into art labs, and then a 2nd floor for the addition will be a 3rd grade level, call it 8th grade for talking purposes. This is the volume open to below in the gyms behind us. The area up here that's white, those are the roofs over the cafeteria, kitchen area, music spaces, all the way back to the event entry back here. Those who are familiar with the building recognize this face of the existing cafeteria, that's that curve. So as was mentioned before, the main entry will be right here underneath this canopy. These are the elevations that have been produced for the construction documents. The west elevation, it's pretty small here, but in your packets, hopefully you've got it. The main entry will be right next to that existing cafeteria, which will be converted into administration. The cafeteria will be out close to that parking lot. Everything to the right of the marker up there is the existing building. If we go to the parking lot side, so the view from the north, the 2nd elevation is that, with the 2-story existing building being back here behind, cafeteria in the front, music through here, 2-story academic wing carrying the same elevation as the existing, or very close to the same elevation or top of building as the existing, over through the gymnasiums to the east. We go to the east elevation, it's the 3rd elevation here. Essentially, you've got the gymnasiums facing east, and then the existing building to the left here, which would be further back behind. And then the final elevation, you can see how the elevations, essentially the top of the buildings are very, very close in height to the existing. We've proposing matching the existing bricks, so it'll feel very seamless. We're not proposing anything that's out of character with the existing look of or feel of the building.
I think the staff report said metal panels were being used somewhere.
There are some metal panels on canopies. So there's a canopy over the front entry that'll have a metal panel on it. There's a metal fascia that runs along the canopy out here in front of the cafeteria to block the sun. And then over at the event entry, there's another canopy so that kids can be protected while they're waiting for someone to pick them up. So the fascia around that's got a metal.
Great. Now, could you go back to the west elevation real quick?
Absolutely.
And it's really hard to see, but if you zoom in on the upper left,
Boy.
is that a mechanical screen sitting on top of the roof? Yeah, I know. It was hard to see in.
There are mechanical screens screening the rooftop units. If I'm on the,
Upper left of the top elevation, right there. No, over to the left.
over to the left,
Right
here.
there. What's
Yes.
sitting on top of that?
And it's probably easier to see on this north elevation because you've got rooftop units that are here, as I come across here and here. Those would have screens. Those rooftop units are on the, let's call it for a story and a half height, and they would have screens around them.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the architectural elevations? Pass it on. Thank you.
Again, my name's Kelly Connolly, that's C-O-N-O-L-L-Y, one N, with Sam Schwartz Engineering. And as I mentioned, we were retained by the district to perform a traffic study. We had been in close coordination with the village, their traffic consultant, and to meet all requirements and approval from the village. And so I wanted to go walk through how we conducted that study and our findings from that study. Our process starts with existing traffic data collection. So we did observations at the school as well as camera traffic counts that gives us information on the volume of traffic on the roadway. Those counts were conducted in March on a typical school day, 7 to 9 a.m. and 2 to 6 p.m. And you can't really see these numbers, but these are diagrams that we use to explain what the peak hour of traffic is at the intersections that we collected information at, which was Gerber and Hawk Hollow Drive, and Jacaranda and Gerber. We then determine the peak hour of those counts and use that information to carry through and do our analysis based on the peak hours of observation. And I think mentioning, during those observations, as is typical in most schools, we do a lot of traffic work helping to arrange siting of schools. There is more traffic in the morning arrival periods, but it's often spread out over a longer period of time. There is less traffic in the dismissal periods, but longer queues because those parents are arriving earlier and waiting in a pickup line for a longer period of time. We then determine the volume of new site-generated traffic using engineering standards. There's the traffic Bible that we call it fondly, where it takes information, published information from across the country at similar sites. So we do a selection of sites, middle schools that have similar characteristics as to the site we are studying, and we determine, we project based on the number of students and or the amount of staff at that school, how much traffic the site will generate. We then assign that traffic to our intersections based on a directional distribution. And I wanted to mention that the distribution that we used, it is heavily based on the boundary areas of a school. And so there are some small differences that may come about based on what that final boundary area is. We assumed 60% coming from the north, 40% from the south, which is a similar distribution as the existing Hawk Hollow Elementary School. So on top of the existing traffic and that new site traffic that we layer on top, we add some background growth. This school will be complete approximately 2025, so we grow traffic to account for other area development and ambient growth out to year 2030 in order to get a conservative look at sort of what our impacts are. And we do traffic capacity analyses and queuing analyses at our study intersections. As Claudia mentioned, here is Hawk Hollow Drive to the north of our property. The proposed access here is considered in our evaluation, and then the existing Jacaranda Drive, which will be 4 buses in the future only. And then we come up with recommendations based on those engineering standards, as well as site plan commentary. So some of our recommendations that came out of the study, there's new striping that we recommend on Gerber to account for your southbound left turn lanes. Capacity analyses indicate that the length of storage that we can get on Gerber will accommodate what those projected queues are. And then we also came up with what we call a traffic management plan, and many schools have these, as the district is well aware. So we worked with the district and the architect to come up with a traffic management plan to accommodate site traffic during peak arrival and dismissal periods. And so these are a bit hard to see on this, but we have some color coding happening here. What you'll see is in green, we don't need as much queue space for that peak morning arrival, so there is less intervention that has to occur in the morning. Traffic comes in this north proposed drive, you can see in the green, and they follow this inbound route and use the typical pickup drop-off area along the north side of the building. In the evening, however, we expect more of a queue. So for that operation, we need to implement a more robust traffic management plan. You can see in red how we will be orienting inbound traffic in the afternoon. They will need to come inbound, circle through the parking. So there is a barrier here, that's that I-shaped thing right there. So that movement can no longer occur. They're coming inbound here, turning back here, and then picking up along the north side of the building. Traffic control personnel we are recommending are here, here, and we are also recommending here to monitor queues occurring outbound. And then as you can see, after the pickup or the drop-off is occurring, cars circulate back here outbound to exit back onto Gerber. And at this location, we talked about a little bit, this is under minor leg stop control, so your outbound traffic is under stop control. There are 2 outbound lanes, so
I was going to ask, what you said was that are those like cones or barriers or?
barricades, so temporary barricades that the school would be setting up prior to dismissal.
Okay.
2 outbound lanes, one striped as a right turn lane, one striped as a left turn lane. That provides about 450 feet each in this area to accommodate outbound queues. Additional queuing space can actually happen all the way around this side of the parking lot without interfering with the inbound circulation. Same thing, only in yellow, shown here. Inbound bus activity will be exclusively on Jacaranda Drive, which is a much improved for the condition that's currently out there where they are commingling for much of the time. The buses use the west lot off of Jacaranda, and parents are using the east lot. So this area can accommodate up to 21 buses queued at any one time from this point at the school and back out without spilling onto the roadway. The school district is expecting approximately 16 buses will need to be accommodated based on what they're thinking that their projections are at other middle schools. And all of those buses are not necessarily happening at one moment in time. They are staggered slightly. And is that all I can say about this? I wanted to mention the parking. Someone had talked about the lot. We are proposing 236 parking spaces to meet village code. Really only about 70 to 90 of those spaces will be used on a typical day by staff. So there's a significant amount of excess parking on typical day conditions. That extra parking will accommodate any type of large event as well that they have in after to school.
I have a question regarding that.
Please.
The village's parking consultant talked about large events and saw the possibility that there may be some that would exceed 400 cars, and listed some recommendations on their one-page review of your plan. Do you have comments on their recommendations?
Sure, I don't recall ever seeing a 400. I had worked with that traffic consultant, Lynn Means, from BLA, and she had asked us to make sure we looked at what vehicle occupancy and attendance levels are at some of their, what they see at their other middle school events. So we did do that, and it's included in the study. You know, that it's typically about 200 to 300 people, with a occupancy of about 2.5 to 3 people per car. So we're still way under our 230-some spaces. I'll also mention that we talked a little bit as a team, because this area where the buses will be during typical dismissal times, arrival and dismissal times, that area is not used during off-peak after hours. And so the width of that area can actually be used for additional on-street parking, because you don't need all the space for buses. So it can act as a one-way circulation for cars, with the curb lane, one curb lane being used for even more vehicles if needed.
Do you have an idea how many cars that would fit?
Let's see. This can accommodate 21 buses, and it would be approximately 2 to 3 cars per bus, so maybe up to 50 additional cars, 40 to 50.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the lanes. So you mentioned it's going to be 3 lanes outbound?
2 lanes outbound and 1 in. So the cross section, I don't think.
Where do those start? Are they at that corner, like right in the middle of right after the detention pond?
Where does the 3-lane section start?
Yeah.
It starts actually right here
there. Okay.
at that north-south drive. So this whole area provides a cross-section of 3 lanes, 1 inbound, 2 out, 1 eastbound, 2 west.
Okay, that should definitely help on the exit at the end of the day. What about pickup? There's only 1 inbound?
1 inbound, correct.
Parents to use? What if there are multiple events, like Canyon Woods, for example, has, they bus elementary kids in for band. Band kids are picked up at 3 o'clock, whereas the middle school is dismissed at 3:30. So the band parents often have to come in earlier, but there are still parents waiting for their middle school dismissal. So is there a way that you can see that 2 lanes of inbound could happen? Or is it just a matter of the queuing that would accommodate that?
We professionally would not recommend 2 inbound lanes for safety reasons. It's becomes confusing for children loading and unloading. And then as you need to merge to form 1 lane, you start to get a pinch point. So I think, in answer to your question, I think any staggering that we can do, even by 10 minutes, is essentially a whole new study. These schools essentially have their peak of traffic in approximately 15, sometimes less than 15, but let's just say conservatively 20 to 15 minutes. And then your queue's gone. 10 minutes after the bell is rings, there's no more traffic. Right. So it's a very concentrated period of time where most of the other times of the day, there's no traffic there, but all this traffic comes in, that 20-minute period. So that's why it needs to be actively managed rather than building more, I think.
Yeah, that helps. I was just concerned about the 3 lanes, and if they're striped, that the parents would not go to other lanes for inbound versus outbound.
Sure, I can understand that. Yeah, I think our recommendation would be to stripe it similar to how you see on a typical roadway where you have a right turn arrow, solid lines that is defining the movement of the traffic.
Okay.
One more traffic question?
I have one more too.
You go.
Okay, just because of the conversation that we just had about all the traffic going in and out between
Sure.
15 to 20 minutes, I still want to make a note on the record that I feel very concerned about that walkway at the front entranceway where we talked.
Along Gerber.
And I'm noticing that if they do enter from Gerber there, that they still have quite a bit of a walk as you're making them turn to the west to go back to the east, and then come all the way up to the school entrance, which would be exactly where with a red pointer?
There's an entrance
Right there.
here and to the north here.
Which is the vent entrance at the north. And is there a way to reroute those students from, I really don't feel that any students belong at the front of that property. Is there a way to reroute that entrance to the back of the property towards the east?
Well, I think we can
For students, just a walkway for students, not for traffic.
I think we can certainly look at that. I will say we do want to keep a sidewalk along Gerber for non-students also. So remember, this is a sidewalk that sort of cuts through the property and continues on. So having a crossing there essentially as a public sidewalk is important too. But I think your point is heard.
And there is a public sidewalk there now?
There is. It's diagonal along what was a right-of-way previously.
Yes, I noticed that when I was visiting the property, but there's no sidewalk running along Gerber right now.
No.
And we have to create a sidewalk there, you're saying that's needs to be done? There is a sidewalk that runs along Gerber to the north, it's kind of offset a little bit, and it runs all the way.
It basically jogs, there's a little jog here, but this all is along Gerber Road.
So that's where I'm wondering, could that sidewalk then make the turn further to the east of the property so that those students could maybe enter through the vent entrance or reroute to the front door? Because it's a long walk no matter which way you look at it. At least it'd be a little longer, but it'd be much more safer.
Are you saying along the north side of that road? Along the north side here?
Yes. If they were to walk somehow that way, yes. Or if there could be a way for them to walk through the neighborhood. I'm assuming they're coming from that neighborhood is where.
I do think most of the student activity comes from this way. There's actually not residential.
Right, so I'm just wondering if there's a way for them to enter at that side, at the east side.
Yes, there is absolutely a
And to
way.
keep them away from the front where that 15 to 20 minutes of, that rush.
There is a current connection on the east side, and that's going to
Yes, that's what
continue.
I thought. So maybe there's a way to connect, or maybe just to close off that entrance. On the east. So what you're saying is it would be easy to reroute those students instead of having them cross at that pathway. It would be something that you could possibly work on with getting them to cross to the back of the property. It could possibly be done, is what you're saying?
It's there, and we're maintaining.
Making a connection.
Yes.
So you can see on the kind of north, yep, right there. There's two existing sidewalks, and those will be connected, and they can go around the back there. That'll connect them to the Hawk Hollow subdivision.
So then possibly closing the entrance at the west side, that sidewalk?
No, that sidewalk's going to remain because that will be part of the existing sidewalk infrastructure that we have along Gerber Road.
Around Gerber, that's what I was wondering about Gerber.
Okay, one more? Are you
Good.
Let me follow up on hers. Following up on Julie, you made the comment that you've recommended a traffic control personnel to be up there at Gerber Road.
Yeah, well, we did. We recommended that this area is monitored because.
By a person.
By a person.
Okay, And has the school district accepted that recommendation?
Yes. Yes.
So, could you describe that person's function? I mean, you got cars turning in, you got cars leaving, you got kids. How are they going to protect those kids? I mean, they're going to actively be out there in the driveway entrance.
Yes, exactly.
To stop cars when kids are coming.
Right, as like a crossing guard, exactly. But I think they're also monitoring like the outbound traffic too. And so they are radioing back if some other operations need to change. Because remember, we're staffing this area too to help with loading. So there's active communication between what's happening here
Right,
and what's happening further into the site.
right, I understand that, but from Julie's concern, that there is a person there
Helping
helping the
children
children
cross.
across the
Yes,
street,
exactly.
across the driveway.
Crossing guard, essentially.
Ever look at village personnel, like at the police department? That's going to be a very busy intersection, like he just mentioned. Would that be considered, besides just a school crossing guard, you know, more like traffic control?
So my understanding is that if it's on the village property, we would work with the village to see what those options would be. On district property, we would have staff that would handle that. So that's something that our school safety office would work closely with the village on, if that was something that we needed to work with the police officers for, or if that's something that we could do internally.
Good answer.
Okay. Kelly, I missed your last name.
Connolly, C-O-N-O-L-L-Y.
Ms. Connolly, I know your study only went up and did the counts up to Hawk Hollow,
Yes, that's correct.
but the intersection at Schick is going to take 60% of these cars, right?
Yes.
And that's a tough left already, as it stands today, as is Fairfax, and then Struckman Drive across the street, which aligns with Gerber, is a tough left at, peak times already. How do you take that into consideration?
Sure.
And at what time does it become like Mayflower and
Sure.
Warrendale Light?
Well, how I can answer that is, we worked with the village to determine what the scope of our study should be. This school was built originally for close to 600 kids, and so based on the difference in enrollment, we determined that we only needed to study what was in close proximity to our site.
Right, and I saw that the numbers are very low in terms of, the number of trips per day, even anticipated into the future, right? But at peak times, right?
Sure.
How's that gonna operate?
Mark, I'm going to interrupt for a moment and let you know that our traffic consultant is here, and Lynn will be able to answer some questions on that, because we have
Okay.
asked her to look at that.
Okay, understand.
So-
In the midst of the study, you're tight like we were on the liquor stores. So now we'll ask somebody else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want Lynn to answer that now?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good evening. Lynn Means with BLA at 333 Pierce Road in Itasca. So we did look at, following some comments that we also had heard some feedback from the village board related to how the operations are currently at Schick and Gerber Road. So we pulled some historical crash data as well as traffic volume data to look at how that intersection currently operates. So we reviewed some historical DuPage County data, IDOT data, as well as the current traffic counts that were performed along Gerber Road. And based on the current and projected volumes during the school morning and the afternoon peak hours, they currently do not warrant a traffic signal at Gerber and Schick Road. We did look at the PM peak hour. Their counts did go up until 6 o'clock at night. And during those higher evening peak hours, when Schick Road is higher, it is very close to satisfying a traffic control at that intersection. Of note, we did look at the crash data, and there isn't a significant history. I believe there were nine crashes at that intersection over a 5-year period. Nothing of a pattern that we could decipher. There were a couple that were of the angle turning movements. But one thing we did note that during that higher time frame, when Schick Road is at a higher peak, when it's at its higher volumes, school traffic is relatively low during that time period. So during like the 4 to 5 p.m. time frame, when Schick Road is at its highest, the school traffic really has, I believe it was like 15 vehicles coming out during that time frame, which is less than 10% of that traffic. So the school traffic, even as it contributes to higher time periods, its peak in the afternoon is around the 2 to 3 time period, where that adjacent street traffic along Schick Road operates at, I believe, maybe about 70% of what that PM peak time frame is. So we would still, even with this additional traffic from the school, not expect it to warrant a traffic control signal.
Is Schick and Army Trail both DuPage County?
Yes, they're both DuPage County.
Okay, before you go, I mean, Kelly may be able to answer this. There was a document from Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and they provided a table. Are you familiar with?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a table. Could you help decipher that table? They talk about average daily traffic.
Sure.
On Gerber, on Army Trail, and on Schick.
Sure.
And I understand, the years 2015, 2022, but I don't understand the middle column, which is 2020, which is different than other numbers.
Are you referring to, in the appendix of our traffic study? I just want to make sure I know what table you are referring to.
Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning.
No, it's, well, it is,
While you're looking, clarification, Schick Road at Gerber is not county jurisdiction.
Gerber is local.
Bartlett has jurisdiction on Gerber, but I think west of Schick, and part of that used to be township.
Oh, yeah,
County-
yes.
The township portion is further west, past, west of the high school is township.
Okay, but isn't that Bartlett jurisdiction?
It is Bartlett from Petersdorf east. I don't have that map up right now.
At least to Gerber.
I think it's just to Gerber, and then it becomes county.
I thought that was still, the county doesn't have it until County Farm. Because when it came to a question of replacing that bridge over the tracks, the township had it at that point, unless they've turned it over.
You're right, Mike. So the county has Schick from County Farm east.
Right.
The other part's between Bartlett and Hanover Park.
so who would make the decision when a light needs to be put in there?
So the village, and the village is committed to monitoring that intersection, and once it meets the warrants for a traffic signal, that's when it would get installed.
Okay, so the letter was to your organization?
Got it. I have it right here.
Okay.
Let me decipher. So we use CMAP to help us grow traffic. Remember I said we used the horizon year 2030 and incorporated CMAP's growth in traffic into our traffic study that accounts for ambient growth in traffic. So we provide information to CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. We give them what the most current ADT, it means average daily traffic, It's published information from the county, from IDOT. They do continual traffic counts, regularly updated traffic counts. That's what the ADT is referring to. And then CMAP spits back at us a 2050. That's what their comprehensive plan aligns with. So they take all of the growth that they're expecting in the region and they plug it into their models and give us projected ADTs on these roadway segments. We use that information to come up with a percent growth in traffic to apply to the horizon year that we use in our study. So the farthest right column is what they are projecting the daily traffic will be on these roadway segments in 2050.
Okay, in the middle column?
That's what the ADT was in 2020, which was the most recent information available. We like to highlight it as separate it from previous historic years because it was a COVID year. And so we gave them information even further back than 2020 so that they could do a comparison between pre-COVID, COVID, to come up with the 2050 projection.
So I guess what I don't understand is on Army Trail, 2022 in the left-hand column is 23,200, and 2020 in the center column is 15,000.
Yeah, so there was a significant decrease in daily traffic.
Shelter in place was under
COVID. Oh, okay. Forgot about that. Okay, thank you.
Gerber and Schick concerns me today. I travel it often enough that I find it irritatingly dangerous to try to make that intersection. You stop on Gerber and have to decide whether you're going east or west, and the traffic on Gerber just does not give you a break. I can understand you're saying that it doesn't warrant a light today. And I've had other experiences with lights and signs, and the statement that was often made that it's not warranted. And then you go away and the rest of us have to live with it. If a light can't be placed there, what about a four-way stop?
Well, those, I won't speak for Lynn, but those have specific warrants too, that you have to meet, and it's often much less efficient. And so you have higher delays that you have to balance with additional gaps in traffic. So there would have to be a study conducted for placing that intersection under all-way stop also.
So it'll take a major accident there to warrant an improvement?
No,
That's not,
no.
no.
It's
Accidents is
volume-based.
That's one part of the things that they look at.
Yeah.
There's a lot, they look at the traffic counts, they look at the turning movements, they look at the delays. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just one singular factor. And again, the village board they discussed this comment then. It's a village jurisdiction road, so it's something that the village would be able to be in control of when that light goes in. So it's not, and again, the school peak traffic is not at the same time of the peak traffic at that intersection. So that's why we're not looking at intersection improvements for that as part of this project.
Can I ask a question about southbound turning? You talked about queuing. I think in your report, you're recommending the turn lane be extended. Is there any possibility that that turn lane would fill up and cars would be in the lane of traffic and block flow?
So that is part of our analysis. The capacity analysis takes into account the volume of traffic turning And the volume of traffic opposing that turn was so northbound Gerber.
Have to yield to, yes.
Yes, exactly. And so the results, so we're providing about 115 feet of storage, which is approximately 4-ish cars, plus or minus, plus, I guess, more, 4 to 5. And the queues, the max queues there that came from the capacity analysis are about 2.
Could they spill backwards? Is there going to be still a center portion of the roadway that if there are more than 4 or 5 cars waiting to turn into school?
There is I think you're referring to like the painted median part.
Yes.
Yes, and they can
Or the
use-
Hawk Hollow
can
turn
use-
lane? Potentially, I guess that would be
Yeah, well,
a bit.
I don't think we have to, yes, there is still a center space, median, the nose of the median, a painted median, however you want to refer to it, that vehicles can use to pull out of the through lane.
Okay, okay. Again, I'm just thinking of Kenyon Woods, cars park on the turn lane and all the way back and do start to impose traffic flow. So if, the queuing though, inside the parking lot may be okay as long as that yield for the oncoming traffic wouldn't be as great, but it is just a little concerning if there's 7 cars, or if there's enough cars to go all the way back to Schick, then we're dealing with left-hand turning off of Schick, so.
Yeah, and that is the absolute intent of the capacity analysis, is to sort of measure what that queue would be so that we are accommodating it.
Could the monitor person from the U46 help with that somehow? Could they stop flow in a certain direction and allow the left turns to happen?
I think their job would mostly be to make sure there is no impediment inside the site to traffic turning in. I don't know that we want them necessarily stopping northbound traffic.
Okay.
If they are engaging with a police officer, then that's a different case.
Okay.
They're more equipped to handle that.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
I think you've been addressing things internally very well. I'm concerned about the regional issues. Gerber Road is kind of it's a unique road. There's a slight slant to it. We have people coming and going. We've addressed the Schick Road issue, but at the other end, it's a very narrow intersection at Army Trail Road, and we're going to have a lot of traffic going left or right. That is a sharp decline, and it's really a vision problem on Army Trail Road. You have the green light, and you can't necessarily see that the traffic is going to respect their red light, and somebody could run the light. And we also are talking about school buses leaving and blocking the traffic. My problem with the plan is vacating Fair Oaks Road, because this was an issue years ago, and the planners wanted to connect Fair Oaks and Gerber because of that bad intersection at Army Trail Road. And in fact, the Oak Trail Professional Center, which is the center at the north side of Army Trail, right at Fair Oaks, where you can see there's a dedicated right-of-way, it was only supposed to be a temporary entrance into there off of Army Trail Road, which was going to be vacated once Fair Oaks went through. And we're inviting some more problems by vacating that at that shopping center and also at the Gerber Road intersection. We've had problems where other rights-of-way were vacated in the past, one of which was connecting Jervy Lane with Auburn. It's going to be a problem, I feel, in the future, especially with Gerber lined up with traffic at the north and south terminus points. Obviously, we'll need a light eventually at Schick Road, but we already have one at Army Trail, and that is already a nightmare intersection when the traffic picks up. But that's kind of out of your purview because you're looking at the internal and only having the one entrance there
could be a problem.
Yeah, well, we have two, but yes, exactly. You know, I think some of the things that the village can look at is traffic signal timing, which, you know, small tweaks, a few seconds here or there can vastly improve an intersection. There's a fair number of lanes at Army Trail, so I don't know, frankly, if it's a capacity issue or a signal timing issue.
I don't know how much right-of-way there is, but I don't think there's a lot of room to widen the intersection at the Gerber Road portion.
I think it's the typical 66-foot.
And I'm sure DuPage County has more of the jurisdiction over the signalization.
Yes.
So I just want to bring up the point about, I don't like vacating Fair Oaks. Anyone else? At this point, I shall open it up to the public. Again, if you plan to speak, make sure you filled out one of those forms on the back table and turn it in. Kim will call people that have turned those in. That way we don't have to swear you in.
Dwayne Burris.
Please state your name and address before you speak.
My name's Dwayne Burris. I live at 5N151 Gerber Road. My property.
Highly affected.
Pardon me?
Highly affected. You're right there next door to them. You're highly affected by your address. I know where you live.
5N151 Gerber Road.
Right, right.
I'm adjacent to the property that's being developed. I have no issues with the project that they're proposing to do. The issue that I'm in favor of is vacating the Fair Oaks thoroughfare. Originally, that was supposed to only take place if they got a grade crossing at Struckman, and that was a temporary light at Army Trail. So it does impact a great deal of my property going through there, and I've been dealing with it for over 23 years. I've been a resident for 40 years, and with that being on the map, it takes a big impact on my property value. So with what they're proposing, I don't really see the need to have that on the map anymore. So that's been my concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathy Andaway.
Thank you, and my name is Kathy Andaway, 233 Hawk Hollow Drive, Bartlett. When we bought our homes on Hawk Hollow Drive, we were told the property behind us was zoned for residential homes, not a parking lot or a 3-lane road. Our main concern is the safety of our residents from any type of accident from moving vehicles directly behind our house. In addition, there'll be car fumes, noise from vehicles, parking lot lights, street lights, and vehicle headlights shining in our backyards. To keep our residents safe, reduce lighting glare into our homes, and buffer the noise, it is proposed that 8-foot fence, not a 6-foot fence, be installed with a row of tall shrubs or evergreens. And also, we are requesting that the homeowners of Hawk Hollow have some input on the style of the fence.
What was that last bit that you said?
If the homeowners can have any input on the style of fence. But we're requesting an 8-foot fence. And there's a, and we see parents rushing the parking lot right now. And we're gonna, have twice as many cars. And that 3-lane road is gonna be right behind our property lines. That scares me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Andaway.
Kevin Andaway, 233 Hawk Hollow Drive.
concern is, since you're building a 200-car parking lot, where is this drainage going to go, the water? And if we have a downpour, is this water going to flow over into our easement, our backyards? Is the retention pond going to be able to handle this volume of water? There was no talk about this at the meeting last week, so I have no idea what the plans are for the water or the drainage. And second thing I have is the traffic congestion you talked about earlier. I leave every morning. It takes me at least 10 minutes to pull out of my street on Hawk Hollow because cars are flying 45 miles an hour down the street, and I can't get out. There's cars trying to pull into Hawk Hollow. They can't make that left turn because cars are coming one after another. And when you're going to have buses coming now, and I'm not talking like 2 buses, you're probably going to have like 6, 8 buses lined up waiting to turn in. How is that going to be controlled for people who want to pull out left or right from this new road that they're building? Because you're going to have stoppage. No one's going to go anywhere. No traffic control, no safety patrol person. Cars are going to be jamming out, cutting cars off. So I'm just taking consideration for that. Okay? Thank you.
Staff could probably answer the detention. I mean, that was addressed, right?
We've had our engineers review their engineering plan. All rainwater will be shed towards the 2 rainwater retention ponds and wetland, or not wetland, and rainwater retention areas, and it would be sufficient to handle the added impervious surface of the new parking lot.
So the detention area is located in like the large island between those 2 access roads.
So if you're making a road 3 lanes wide, 2 cars to exit out, one lane to pull in, what's controlling those people who want to turn left on Gerber when cars are coming that opposite direction?
It's a stop sign just like it is on your street.
On that street. But what about Gerber? They're going to keep coming. Those cars are going to be backed up, waiting to pull out, especially if you have 700 students. And you're saying like 500 are bused?
Right.
You have the same problem with the buses. They're going to be trying to pull out too. So it's not a good idea. I mean, I would redesign that. That's all. Thank you.
Caroline Haas.
Good evening. Caroline Housel, 241 Hawk Hollow. I wanted to know, what is the easement from our property line to where the fence will be? Not from the back of the home to the fence, but from our property lines.
There currently is no easement? Oh,
Okay,
you're
where the
talking about the distance between...
Distance between our rear property line to where the fence will be installed?
5 feet.
5 feet, okay. Also, what are the hours of the school going to be?
That would be for someone from the school district to answer. I do have a general times, but yeah, I'd rather have them answer.
Okay, so you mentioned the lighting was to be at 5 a.m. Why, if school doesn't start till 9?
So the school starts at 9, but we'll have our support staff, our custodians, our food service deliveries, things like that. People will be accessing the building, and so the lighting will be on so that they can have safe parking lot experience.
We also have concerns about if there isn't adequate parking at the school, that during events that will negatively impact parking on Hawk Hollow Drive, just because of the proximity we are to the school. Also, the traffic signal that is at Army Trail and Gerber is very, very long. We could sit there 3 minutes. So if you have buses in the morning leaving, parents leaving, trying to turn left onto Army Trail, especially since you showed that that area that students will be coming from Carroll Stream, that's the direction they're going to go. That will stack up. You know, how long does it take? A 3-minute light, how many cars stack up there that'll be turning left? So that is going to be a parking or a driving issue for everybody, at least twice a day. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Steve Jiskra.
Hi, Steve Jiskra, 254 Hawk Hollow, Bartlett, Illinois. In the planning documents, it says lighting is utilized for safety and will be placed as such to not disturb adjacent properties. I think I heard someone testify that they'll be facing south, so then that would not impact us to the north?
Correct.
On Hawk Hollow?
Correct.
Okay. Could we go to slide number 8, please? It was slide number 8 in your presentation. So I had heard someone say that that was it, that the fence line was going to continue beyond where that swimming pool is, and it's my understanding that's where it's going to stop. It will not continue to go east of there. So then my next question is, as of now, the landscape planning, which is the next slide, shows one tree being planted in the northeast corner, up on the top. So I would ask for consideration to plant several bushes and trees, because myself and several neighbors will be seeing that parking lot. There's nothing that's going to block our view of that. So that's just another request I have.
How close is that fence to the current trail or path that goes to the neighborhood?
I'm sorry, which the fence, the proposed fence?
To the proposed fence, how close will that come to the path? Within feet, a few feet? Okay.
Yeah, because right now, if you go visit the site, that northeast corner, like, is where Winston ends, and people just dump shrubbery in that. I'm assuming that's all going to be cleared out, because it looks like the parking lot's going to extend to the east of where that road is. So I'm assuming the school's going to own all that property, and so myself and several neighbors, they're not proposing any landscaping in that northeast quadrant. So I would just ask for consideration to add landscaping to that area, because there will not be a fence there according to the documents I saw. That's it. Thank you.
Is that it? Does anyone else have anything else to say? Any further discussion or motions from the board?
Are we going to hear any kind of staff report tonight verbally?
What was that?
Are we going to hear a staff report tonight? Yeah, okay.
A lot of this will be treading old ground that we've already treaded here in the past 45 minutes. This is a request to amendment for the future land use plan, rezoning of the property of SR2 PUD to P1 public lands, and a plat of consolidation and site plan. Here we have a location map. You can see the existing lots and the existing right-of-ways for Fair Oaks Road as well. Gotta put you guys in presentation mode, don't I? There we go. This is the site plan that's being proposed. I believe we've covered a lot of ground on this site plan, but there is there'll be two parking lots with a total of 236 parking spaces This proposed facility with the total, will have a total building area of 150,362 square feet, and will have a maximum height of 34 feet. The building will mostly consist, the building's addition will consist of masonry utility brick veneers with the finished aluminum curtain walls for their canopies. U46 anticipates a total of 27 classrooms, maximum enrollment of 750 students with the completion of the expansion. We've already seen the floor plan today, which is mainly facilities for middle school type curriculums with music facilities, athletic facilities, and a new cafeteria. This is the final plat of consolidation. You can see the existing lots and the existing right-of-ways of Fair Oaks Road, Jaconnerata Drive, and Winston Lane, as well as the existing lots for what was the Jaconnerata subdivision. These are the lots and right-of-ways that will be part of the abrogation of that plat, and then here you can see the final plat of consolidation. There will be Lot 16 and Lot 20 as remaining as drainage and protected lots for water, stormwater and drainage. That blue circled area is a new stormwater and drainage easement as well to accommodate the addition of all the new impervious surfaces included for the additional parking. Here's the existing land use map. In that existing land use map, you can see the existing right-of-ways and the current undeveloped lots for residential. The proposal is to change the designation on our future land use plat all to that blue color P1 public lands, and to remove the right-of-ways that are being vacated by the plat of consolidation. Here's the current zoning map. The property is zoned SR2, which is a single-family residential. They are proposing to rezone the entirety of the property to P1 public lands. Here's the new site plan again. Here I've highlighted the trail connections that'll be part of the pedestrian infrastructure. On the top left corner, you can see the sidewalk that we've been discussing on Gerber Road. This will come out to Gerber Road to provide visibility for students and for any other pedestrians that are crossing that crossing. This provides visibility to all drivers on Gerber Road. And there's a stop sign on the school entrance, on the school drive, that will stop traffic from that direction. I believe, as we've said tonight already, it'll be monitored by a crossing guard. This continues down south near the western side of the property and continues onto an existing trail south of the property. On the east side of the property, there is an existing trail system that'll be connected and repaved. This will be an 8-foot sidewalk, and these connections will be connecting to the existing residential subdivisions.
8 foot wide?
Yes, sir. Here is the circulation plan that we've already discussed. Here's the landscape plan. I've highlighted the proposed fence on top. We've just already discussed this fence. It's a 6-foot fence, 5 feet from the property line, and you can see the existing landscaping, the proposed landscaping there. This is the proposed western entrance. This would be the main entrance for guests and staff. And then here are the other elevations that we've already discussed as well with the school's architect. And we're back to the landscape plan. I'm open for any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Very good.
Is there anything that can be considered for the northeast corner, which one of the people in the audience had mentioned that putting up some landscaping, that area where the fence ends?
You're speaking on this landscape. So I pulled up the landscape plan for that section there you're talking about. I wish I had my pointer. You're talking about the section where you have the one tree where it forks.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
to
up
get
there.
into Winston
Right.
Lane.
Yes.
And so you think it would be a better idea to have more shrubs here to provide some kind of screening for the residents located north of the property?
All the residents have a right to have some type of screening.
Okay.
You can add a condition like that to your recommendation.
Upper right hand. Pardon me? It's still an open, yes.
I just wanted to point out, you can
Claudia, a lot of that bubbling, so you'll see some of the bubbling will go over, that's like a canopy of a tree. Yeah.
I'd like to discuss some additional conditions then.
Okay, yes,
Julie's
go ahead.
being one of them, if that's okay. That one condition be that the petitioner would add screening landscaping to the extent possible eastward from the end of the fence until they can't. And number two, which might not be necessary, Christie, is that the Plan Commission recommends that the village closely monitor traffic conditions at Schickengerber Road. Okay, and the third one is that the petitioner should study the proposed northern fence regarding grades and height and report to the village board.
Are you looking at a specific height, like the lady recommended?
I think the petitioner needs to make a case for their design to the village board. And there's some grade differential between the
Right.
properties at some portions along the property line. So it's got to work all the way along.
Okay.
And then Hank, my understanding is, and I'll have to check the topo on our engineering plans, but your understanding is that the Hawk Hollow property is higher than the residential properties?
Or I'm remembering a bit of a retaining wall on some of those properties.
Sure.
First couple?
Come up to the microphone, please.
Yeah.
Yes, there is grade difference. So as you go west on the site, it slopes down, and that's where everything is sloping to, is those ponds. So it is definitely lower on the west side than it is the east, but.
We want the fence to work all the way.
That's something we can look at, is the fence height compared to the neighbor's.
That's why it would be helpful to bring some cross-sections to the village board, right? Don't have to return here, let's take care of it properly, though. Okay.
Anything else?
Can we recommend any type of police
There's a
presence
woman
at
who had her
the
hand up.
entrance? I just don't think a crossing guard's gonna cut it.
Come up to the microphone. You already had filled out a form, so just give your name again.
Caroline Housel, where is the garbage for the school?
It'll be located right here.
There's a screened enclosure shown on the plan with solid gates.
Okay, will there be any impact with smell and noise and all that? Okay.
Anyone else?
Julie just mentioned that, maybe we should add a fourth condition, and that was expressing our concern over safety monitoring of the new north entrance. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Agree?
Yes.
Okay.
So are you going to formulate the motion?
Yeah, sure, it's easy for you to say. Okay. We're going to make a motion to approve case number 2328.
02, isn't it?
2302.
2302. Okay, hang on. Case number 2302, Hawk Hollow Middle School, for amendments to the future land use plan, rezoning from SR2 PUD to P1, platted consolidation and site plan, along with the conditions and finding of fact in the staff report, along with the 4 additional conditions that we added tonight. That's a motion.
Okay.
We have to state those conditions when you make the motion?
Do I have to state those conditions? Okay. First condition is for the village to closely monitor the intersection of Schick and Gerber Road. Second condition is the petitioner to study the proposed north fence regarding grades and height and report to the village board, to add screening, landscaping at the end of Winston Lane from the end of the fence as far east as possible, and for the petitioner to provide, what did we say? Right, that our concern is for the pedestrian safety at the new access drive at Gerber Road, and the petitioner needs to assure the village that they're going to monitor that, control that.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Seconded by John. Any further discussion? Just want to comment again. I want to thank you for the comments and the details that you've done. I was vehemently opposed to vacating Fair Oaks Road, as I said, but I think you've addressed a lot of the other issues. And as the gentleman pointed out from 5 North 151 Gerber Road, it's been a drain on his property value, so he would benefit from vacating because it would have to go through his corner and take out his barn if it ever went through, right? Okay, so I'll vote for it. Any other discussion? At this point, we'll close the public hearing. Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe?
Yes.
Mark Hopkins?
Yes.
Julie Kapadakakis?
Yes.
George Koziel?
Yes.
John Miasso?
Yes. Yes.
Bob Bacaro?
Yes.
John Batterman?
Yes.
Mike Weirden?
Yes. We shall pass on a positive recommendation to the village board. Stay in touch with staff to find out when it appears on the agenda. I'm guessing fairly soon, right?
I think it will go back to Village Board Committee on June 20th.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for participating and for your keeping order here in the room and letting people speak. The last thing we have is new business, old business. Anything else coming up?
We may have a commercial development for either next meeting or August.
Okay.
Depends when I can get some clarification from DuPage County Division of Transportation.
Is there any motion to adjourn?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Charlie, is there a second? Seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.